Welcome to the first edition of Closing Bell. I'm Murray Dawes and I run a trading service called Pivot Trader. And we're going to do these on a weekly basis. When the market closes, I'll just take you through some of the most interesting things I'm seeing in the market and give you a bit of a rundown on what I believe is moving markets and what I think is coming next. And show you a stock that I think you should definitely have a look at for next week. Now, look, this week we've broken out to new all-time highs. That's all well and good. We all know that the banks and the property stocks, etc., are flying, and most of the mid-cap, small-cap space is actually pretty flat or trending down. It's a pretty interesting market, and it's actually pretty tough to make money as a trader out there. So if you are having a tough time the last few months, join the club. But there has been a few moves this week, which I think are pretty interesting. And I want to show you the US dollar as the main thing that I think is going to drive markets going forward. And we've had a bit of a move there, which I'll show you in a second. And that has seen gold get hammered last night. And we've got oil also taking off at the same time. So I think that really is the area of the market where opportunities are going to abound next week. So let's have a look at that US dollar to kick off. The US dollar index over the past few years, this is going back to 2012. And I want you to notice the huge trend we had back in 14, 15 and the real sideways price action we've seen ever since for the last 5-6 years. And what I want you to focus on is this huge range that happened from 17 to 18, a big sell-off. And really, ever since, it's been stuck in this range. And the way I look at trading is there's areas within ranges which are key spots where prices often change direction and head back to the midpoint, which is the point of control. And I think this is an interesting point right now because I want you to just focus on the price action in this US dollar over the last few months, where it's been holding above the major low from 2018, which is around 88 in that US dollar index. And really below 88 for me is a real sketchy spot for that US dollar. If it does crack below there, I'm really expecting quite a sharp sell-off. But at the moment, while it holds above that level, and you can see that we've got the early stages of an attempted rally going on here, and we're about to see a weekly buy pivot this week if it can close strong tonight. That what I'm looking at is a potential that we could see quite a short squeeze in this US dollar, even if it is ultimately going to break below 88. And I want you to think about this because a big squeeze in the US dollar is going to affect a lot of markets. And we saw gold getting hammered last night, and there's been a big rally across the whole resource spectrum for a long time. So if we do see this US dollar start to trade up, it could actually be a pretty quick trip even back to that point of control, all the way up at 96, which is a long way from where we are now. So watching the rally in this US dollar is really the thing that you need to focus on going forward. And if we just have a look at the gold price up close. Now, this is a chart of the gold price over the last year or two. This was the all-time high. And we've had, a downtrend that was developing since that all-time high. And what I want you to notice is that this most recent rally that we've had, and everyone's been getting bullish on gold, but the downtrend is being maintained until prices actually break above that highest low in that downtrend from the all-time high. There is a risk that gold can actually tip over again. And you can see that the selling pressure has actually come in. And as I was telling you just before, I look at these waves and we look at where the buy and sell zones are within the wave. And then I'm, getting nervous when prices get up into that sell zone, which is a 75 to 87% retracement of that wave. That's when I'm starting to look, if this thing's going to turn down, it's going to turn down from there. And we've got the first signs of that. So prices should head back to that point of control around $1,815 in gold, and possibly lower if that US dollar really does take off. So I think there's a few people who have been buying this rally in gold over the last few months who may be in for a bit of a negative surprise. But then let's move on to the oil price, and that has been moving in the opposite direction, actually rallying, and rallying even while the US dollar rallies, which really tells you that there is a bit of strength in that oil price, actually breaking out to a new high after the high that was made in early 2021. And this chart is just a daily chart. You can see this price is back to 2019. And I guess the main thing to think about with the oil price right now is it may be rallying, but when I look at the whole wave down in oil prices over the last few years, you can see that prices have pretty much gone back into the sell zone of that whole wave. And again, the 75 to 87% retracement of that whole wave down over the last few years. So it is still a fairly high risk area where prices can turn down. So you've got to be a bit wary. But really with the strength this week in oil and breaking out to new highs, you have to remain fairly bullish on oil for the time being. And that really brings me to the stock that I think has had quite an interesting move over the past week and is definitely worth keeping an eye on next week. Right, here we have the price of Origin Energy. It's been under a lot of pressure for a long time. You can see this is the rally from 2000. It was a really well-loved stock, topping out in 2008, up around 20 bucks. And it's been a sad old story ever since, bottoming out in 2016, down around $3.50, and an attempted rally out of there, which has been snuffed out again. But the thing I want you to focus on is the fact that it really has been trying to break down for quite a while. And the fact is, it's finding some pretty good support. If I look at that wave higher over 2016 to 2018, and again, if we look at the area where I want to see buying support, if things are going to turn around, you can see it's now got a triple bottom in place around here. And this week, with oil prices breaking out, that price of Origin has really taken off like a rocket. So after a triple bottom, right in the buy zone of the whole wave up from 2016 to 2018, this is one of those spots where if this thing's going up, you're going to be heading back towards that point of control around $7. And tell you what, if things turn down and it breaks down below that low from 2016, it's not going to be looking much good. So that gives you a real line in the sand where you know where you're wrong. So from a risk reward point of view, Origin is really looking like potentially not a bad little trade going forward. So that would be the stock that I reckon you would be keeping your eye on next week. So I hope you enjoyed that market wrap up, and it'll be happening every week. So make sure you tune in. Now, look, my service is actually Pivot Trader. Check out the link below this video to see what I do and how I trade. You'll learn a bit about my risk management process and how I trade Aussie stocks with quite a few people. Yeah, make sure you do check in next week, and I hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.